Good afternoon. Good afternoon
Hi.
to you. All right, y'all can do better than that. Good afternoon. All right, it is absolutely wonderful to be here with this year's Miss America. Your year's almost over. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. It's already happening. September 13th, we're crowning a new Miss America. Just kidding. No, don't clap for that. What are you talking about?
You'll be a has-been.
I know, but it's okay. I'm excited for the next chapter as Kira.
So, yes, as Kira, but you will always be a Miss America sister,
Yes,
right? It's
forever
a
Miss
sisterhood.
America.
So talk to us about what this year has been for you. What have been some of the most unusual, inspiring things that have happened?
All right. Well, I serve as the National Goodwill Ambassador for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, which means I travel all across the country visiting lots of kids, and being able to make relationships with their families and really connect with them really puts life into perspective. Of course, I have my personal platform, Love Shouldn't Hurt, protecting women against domestic violence, and again, being able to make connections with people just, through a platform, through a pageant, is a really, really powerful thing. And I got to go on an international USO tour, visiting our troops abroad and thanking them for their service, which was really, really special. And Miss America hasn't done that since, I think, 1971. So that was really special. And then I've done crazy stuff like singing the national anthem in front of Stevie Nicks and Peyton Manning, and playing in a golf tournament on the Golf Channel and having analysts analyze every move of my swing. And
How was your swing?
Apparently it's pretty good. They liked it. They liked it. Hopefully they have me back again.
All right, so let's go back to two of the groups that she talked with, right? Children and troops, both of whom are impacted by the crown in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
So talk about the children. One of the things that's so amazing is when you're dealing with a terminal illness or an illness that's causing problems, is you've got these youth. How do they react to you, especially the very tiny ones? Do they actually think you're a real-life princess?
I get a lot of, Elsa. And they get so excited. I'm like, yes, sweetheart, I am Elsa. Thank you. But
Do you ever have to belt out "Let It Go"?
I try, trust me. But I mean, the crown has power. It's really special when you walk into a room and a parent later says to me, you know what, I haven't seen my child smile in 3 months, and you brought that out in them. And that's when you realize, like, oh my goodness, I'm Miss America, and I was able to do something for this kid today, and they're dealing with really, really big problems in a tiny person body, and I can help them, and it's a really beautiful thing, and that's the beauty of being Miss America.
And the same thing when we're overseas with our troops, right? To be a figurehead.
Yeah.
When we're here in the midst of Snapchat and Twitter and Facebook and all these celebrities and reality shows, it might not seem as much of an issue, but what about overseas when you're looking for anything comforting or familiar?
Yeah, it was really interesting to me how troops would react to us. I traveled with Dennis Haysbert, who's from the Allstate commercials. Are you in good hands, that guy? Who is awesome, one of the best people, really avid golfer. Wee Man, Andrew Luck, who else was on our tour? Philip Phillips, and a bunch of other really cool people. And the troops would come up to us and say, thank you for bringing us a piece of home. And for me, like, why are you thanking me? I mean, it's my pleasure, my honor, my duty to be here, and you're literally fighting for my freedom. Miss America would not exist without you. And it really put my life into perspective. And I'm a first-generation American. My parents came here from another country for a better life. And I'm so thankful to them, and I was able to go to Afghanistan, go to Bahrain, and say thank you. And that's really, really special and something I'll never forget.
Now, in previous years, again, this hasn't been done since the 70s, but Miss America always was part of the talent. She was always part of the performance. It's actually one of the things that separated Miss America from other pageants is the talent portion. Your talent is relatively unique. You tell us.
I did it for the troops. They loved it.
Okay, so I want to tell the audience what you did for your talent, and then I want to hear what the troop reaction was.
I did, so I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Cup song, Pitch Perfect, all that jazz. You probably saw something on YouTube from it. And you know what? I don't care if you loved it or you hated it, but you remembered it. And the troops and their families, this is something people don't realize, is that a lot of these locations, their families are there with them. And I was performing my talent for them in Germany, I believe. And all of a sudden, this girl comes, burrying through the audience, holding a bedazzled red cup. And on the inside, she had written, "I'm a former Miss Wyoming. Thank you for coming to visit us." And she was there with her family. Her husband was serving in the military, and she was supporting him as a military spouse. And, I mean, it was just amazing. I crossed oceans to connect with somebody over a red cup. And as silly as it might sound, that really meant something to her, and it meant something to me.
It's absolutely incredible how even the smallest of gestures can really mean a lot in the big picture, in the ways of connecting. Now, when we talk about connecting, Anna Kendrick of Pitch Perfect obviously is a huge reason behind why you're here. Have you had any communication with her?
So, well, kind of. She...
Uh-oh.
I mean, I still felt really cool. Right after I won, she tweeted at Pharrell and said, "We just can't stop collaborating, huh?" And I was like, oh my God, she's talking about me. Which was really exciting, but that's about all I got from her. I'm still waiting on my invitation for Pitch Perfect 3. I'd love to make a cameo.
Well, did you reply all?
Well, of course, I tweeted and retweeted and favorited and made sure the whole world saw it. I think it's framed on my wall somewhere. My mom printed it out to save forever.
What does it mean for a first-generation household to have your daughter become Miss America?
I'm pretty sure my mom leads every conversation with, oh, by the way, my daughter is Miss America. But, I mean, they're so proud. They came from nothing. They worked so hard. I'm the product of the American dream. And they can't believe that, a dream that they had so long ago developed into their daughter growing up to be me. And I'm so thankful to them, because I wouldn't have this life. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them and all their hard work.
One of the other things that separates Miss America from other competitions is the platform. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about your platform, which focuses on domestic violence from a personal standpoint as well as the overarching view. Yeah,
so for those of you that aren't familiar, every single contestant is required to pick something that they care about. It can be healthy eating, it could be breast cancer awareness, whatever it might be. And for me, it was really important to pick something that was something I could have a connection to, something I was familiar with and could really speak from the heart. And that's domestic violence, because of a personal experience. And I can't tell you how rewarding it's been to be able to connect with women all across the country and say, I understand you, and I know where you're coming from, and I know what you're talking about. And not just women, but men too, and little girls and little boys, and being able to educate people about the issue and realize that 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men, domestic violence knows no barriers of socioeconomic status, race, religion. It transcends all boundaries. And I've been able to partner with Safe Horizon here in New York City. They're the largest provider of domestic violence services in the country. And I don't know if you heard about my Put the Nail in It campaign, but right here, I always have my left ring fingernail painted purple, and it's your reminder that domestic violence is always around us, and we have to do what we can to fight it. And it's a conversation starter. I can't tell you how many people have said, why do you have your painted nail purple? And I go, well, thank you for asking. And it gets us started on talking about it. And it's on your vow finger, so it's your vow to end domestic violence. So anybody can do it. Anybody can post on social media, hashtag put the nail in it, and do something about it. In that very, very small way, we can all contribute.
Actually, you're making me want to paint my nails. It's something that absolutely anyone can do, and that's a huge inspiration. When you're looking at this, you're not only working with Safe Horizon, you've also done work with the Women's Prison Association, in which it is estimated approximately 85% of women in prison have suffered some sort of domestic violence.
Yes, the WPA it was a huge part of me getting ready for Miss America and Miss New York and educating me, because I think a lot of, I'm a big Orange is the New Black fan. And
who else is a big Orange is the New Black?
Yeah. And I actually got to meet Laverne Cox at the billboards, and she was one of the coolest people I've met this year. But I think Orange is the New Black really put the spotlight on women in prison, and domestic violence in particular has a huge correlation. Women that go through abusive relationships have a huge correlation with also the criminal justice system. So that was a huge part of my platform, and educating people that to stop the cycle, we all have a role to play, and it stems from education and conversation.
And not everyone is as familiar with your personal background with this. Would you mind shedding some light for our audience?
Yeah, this is something I dealt with in college, and something that really plagued me for a long time, and I had to deal with, do I tell my family? Do I seek therapy? Do I open up about it on that level with you? And, of course, the details I reserve for the women that I speak with, but I don't have to share all of these crazy things for people to understand and to get it.
But a key issue I think that this conversation helps shed light on is the fact that there's not necessarily a word for it. Being domestic violence means you must be married. to have to go through, and you were dealing with this in college.
Yeah, so I guess you could also call it intimate partner violence. So IPV would be the acronym for it, and it happens all the time among boyfriends and girlfriends, girlfriends and girlfriends, boyfriends and boyfriends. If you might be engaged within your family, parents and their children. Like I said, it knows no boundaries.
In this year, in your work with this, some of the commonalities that you've heard and stories, what do you think would be more effective in moving forward and creating programs and creating services and instigating change?
Yeah, so I think for a very long time, domestic violence has been something that's kept in the deepest, darkest corners of American society. It's something that for a very long time people didn't want to talk about, they didn't want to touch it, they didn't want to acknowledge it. People would say, that's none of my business, I can't get involved. But you can get involved. You can say it's my business. You can say, can I help you? Are you okay? All it takes is a listening ear and an open heart, and that day might be the day when that person decided, you know what, I need to make a change in my life, or I need to seek help and not feel judged and not feel discriminated against. And if we can move our culture to a place of inclusion, then people, men and women, will feel a lot more comfortable coming forward and reporting and seeking help.
Specifically regarding your platform, is there a specific story from this year or anecdote that you have that showcases what happens when we do open up about these issues and we do share seemingly embarrassing or problematic past?
Yeah, well, so I had a little boy in California come up to, I spoke at a children's conference that was geared toward lower income families. And this little boy came up to me and goes, did you have a hard time when you were younger with bullying? Like, how did you get through high school? How did you get through people bullying you and being mean to you? And for this little boy who's 13 years old to come up to me and ask me that, first of all, it crushes you, it breaks your heart, and you have to tell him, seek help, rely on your teachers, trust those around you, your counselors, and you will get through it. And of course, there's so many people, they're pushing everybody through, but to make eye contact with that person and say, you know what, you will be fine, and I understand you. And then on the opposite spectrum, in Ludington, Michigan, I spoke with a woman who was a victim of domestic violence, and her daughter was a victim of sexual assault. They were both in the shelter together. And the mother said, can you please speak with my daughter? She is so depressed that she doesn't want to go to school anymore. She can't find the will to concentrate on her studies or anything that can get her out of this very deep depression. And in 30 minutes, we laughed and cried and connected, and were able to get to a place of acceptance. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to be able to offer those sort of medical steps, but I can offer acceptance and commonality. And if Miss America has gone through something like that and you can relate to one another, then maybe that can make just the smallest difference in her mindset that day. And I think things are looking up for her, and she's doing really, really well. And I don't know if it was a result of that conversation, but I sure really hope that it had something to do with the positivity that is in her life today.
Well, with the idea of commonality, statistically speaking, there's a large chance that a third of the women in this audience have dealt with some sort of domestic violence. A tenth of the men in this audience have dealt with some sort of intimate partner violence. Mm-hmm. What would your advice be in the healing process and moving forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people think that there's not someone out there that will understand you or that won't judge you. And since we're here in New York, Safe Horizon, for example, they are the most incredible organization that will provide resources for you, or family justice centers. You can go into a family justice center and every resource you need is under one roof, from the police to the medical to the therapeutic to the what happens next, the legal system, everything, all in one place to help you get through what you need. Instead of repeating your story thousands of times to different entities, you can handle it all right there in one place. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the resources are right there, and we've gone leaps and bounds in creating these amazing programs and resources for men and women. And if we can raise awareness on it and educate people, that all you have to do is reach out and ask, and someone will be there for you, and will do it in a non-discriminatory, non-judgmental way.
Speaking of New York, here is not only a first-generation American, but she's also a first in another way for the Miss America pageant. Mm-hmm. She's the first three-peat for a state to win Miss America. New York won Miss America 3 years in a row. You now are giving up your crown. Yeah. Do you think there's a chance for a four-peat?
You know what? You never know, because everybody said that I wouldn't win, so That's all I have to say about that. And I mean, every single girl, it doesn't matter what her sash says, they all have the exact same chance going in, so may the odds be in your favor, girls.
What was the mantra going into the competition last year that helped you to stay focused despite the odds being against you?
It was so funny. Literally, people just went up to me and said, there's no way you can win. And I said, oh, really? But no, I'm kidding. But I had a great feeling going into it, and I was relaxed, and I knew that if I did my absolute best, I would have no regrets on it looking back, and I would say, you know what, I gave it my all, and if it goes well, great. If not, I'm going to go to Notre Dame Law School, and it's a win-win situation either way. I had a backup plan to the backup plan, and Miss America would be wonderful, but if it wasn't meant for me, there was going to be something even better down the road for me.
All right, so this year you basically lived out of a suitcase, right?
Yeah, I'm in a different city every 2 days, and I travel 20,000 miles a month.
Okay, so what has been the most challenging facet of this?
Well, I like I said, I'm in a different city all the time, and the airplanes and the trains, planes, automobiles, all those things, they're exhausting, especially when you do it as often as we do. So to show up to an event and be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and people don't understand how taxing the job is. It truly is a job that requires your constant attention 365 days a year, and that can be a real big challenge, and still being able to perform and maintain your everything about what you're saying, what you're doing, your
those
appearance.
cups won't cup themselves.
Exactly, it's hard. Okay, so it's performing, it's being informed, it's constantly being able to be on your toes, and do things like this all day long, and it can be really challenging, and dealing with social media at the same time, and media scrutiny and all those things, but we get through it.
Talk to us about the media scrutiny. Were you surprised by the level of digging, of interest?
Well, the media scrutiny is one thing. That's something that I expected. What I wasn't fully prepared for was the social media trolls, I guess we could call it, and people reaching out to me via Twitter and the comment section on Instagram and Facebook and saying really nasty, degrading, mean things about my intellect, about my appearance, about anything about my life. And at first, it really affected me, and I had to quickly learn how to develop a thick skin, how to let it just roll off my shoulder and move on with it. But what's really scary is that little kids, 8th graders, make these comments more often than not. And then, of course, there's, the random people that probably have nothing better to do. But the fact that little kids are online writing things about me or anyone else is really terrifying to me. And that's been a big part of what I talk about at schools is, let's talk about being kind to one another, about self-respect, about respecting one another. If you don't want to see it written about you, then don't write it about somebody else.
Do you think that it's possible to get these messages across? We're seeing social media bullying being a much larger issue, more prevalent as social media becomes a more ingrained aspect of our society.
Well, I really hope that schools take it upon themselves, teachers take it upon themselves to understand social media, first of all, and the positive effects that it has, but also the negative effects that it can have. And parents, I'm a big proponent, and parents having their kids' passwords, monitor what your kids are doing, when they're 12 years old, because you don't know what they're getting into. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there on the internet.
Have you called out any 8th graders and said, "Hey, Mom"?
Well, no.
Guess what this person said to Miss America?
I take screenshots of it all the time, and I send it to the office to make sure. Is this kid? Do they know what they're doing? And it's terrifying. And I'm never one to blast somebody on social media because then I'm no better than them. But it's terrifying that they think it's okay. So what we need to do as a society is make that not okay and make that the uncool thing to do, I guess, because people think it is the cool thing sometimes, and it's really, really scary.
Well, in your current capacity as Miss America, social media, whether or not you like it or have trolls, you have to do it.
Yeah, and I love social media.
What do you think you will continue with this once the crown is passed on?
What I'll continue with
social media with
of course, I love Instagram. Follow me on Insta, okay? I love it. I love sharing what I'm doing. I think Instagram and Twitter and Facebook are an amazing way for me to connect with the Miss America fans and people that want to see what I'm doing from day to day. It's an awesome tool, and it's an educational tool, and it's a perfect way. It's just sometimes it gets used in a very negative light. But I'm going to share this interview later on social media because I want people to tune in. I want people to learn about Miss America and learn about the positive things that come from Miss America. There's lots of misconceptions out there, and through social media, I can maybe help help clear some of those things up.
All right, so what will we be seeing? We won't be seeing any crown. We won't be seeing the jet setting. What will we see next year when you are back to just Kira?
Question. Miss America teaches you what you do and don't want to do. And I've realized that I don't think I want to go to law school. I'm thinking about business school.
This is important. She was accepted into Fordham Law School. That was the goal.
Yeah, Fordham and Notre Dame, and I don't think so. Yeah. And I was really proud of it. And you know what? I don't know if I want to go into law. I want to maybe go into business and entertainment, and I want to move to Los Angeles and kind of explore a new adventure as Kira. And this year gives you the most amazing opportunities, and it's up to me to take them.
Well, have you talked to your fellow Miss America, Mallory, who is also in Los Angeles, about
she actually moved back to New York recently, but yeah, I mean, all of the Miss Americas are so supportive of one another, and they're all about, if you need anything, let me know. I will help you. I'll help you get connections or an apartment or whatever it might be. So I have a whole team of Miss Americas behind me.
All right, and you now have a whole new group of people following on Insta to figure out what that is.
Besties, yes.
All right, to that point, we'd love to have any questions from you if you're curious about the past, present, and future of Miss America. Are there any questions? Yes, right there.
So where do you ultimately see yourself in 5 years?
You know what? I, for the first time in my life, really don't know the answer to that question, and I'm totally okay with it. I hope I will have gone to business school by then, and I will have started some sort of an entrepreneurial venture on my own. I would love to be a female business leader. I don't know what that venture is. Maybe it's clothing. Maybe it's image media consulting. Maybe it's, doing something with Miss America. But I want something of my own, something that I can be really, really proud of and hopefully influence a lot of people by. We'll see what that is, though.
Hey, thanks so much for being here today and
Thanks
for the
for
work
having me.
that you do. I'm just wondering, how do you get to that point where you're being considered to be Miss America? Do you apply? I'm not going to do it.
Are you going to apply? Are you interested, sir?
Maybe.
Okay, great.
But just curious, how do you get
that's a great question.
School?
That's a great question. So the Miss America model, I guess, is it's a local, state, and national level. So you apply to a local and you compete in your local. So my local was Miss City of New York for the year that I won Miss America. The year before that, I was Miss Cosmopolitan. Super fancy, I know. And so I won Miss City of New York from a pool of like 20 people, and then I moved on to Miss New York, won from 21 or 23 girls, and then from there you move on to the national competition, and it was all of the states plus DC, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. And that's where they pick you from. Yep. Great question.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, I've seen these like TV reality shows, and I know that they're kind of extreme and they sensationalize a lot of the sort of beauty pageant industry for children. I was wondering, like when you were a kid, did you dream about being Miss America? Mm-hmm. Is this something you put, your parents put pressure on you, maybe your mother, and have you, do you think like the kind of portrayals on TV of these young girls doing these beauty pageants, do you think that they're kind of off, or do you think they're accurate? And do you think of it as some kind of abuse?
All right, I'll tell you how I got involved with pageants. I begged my mom to let me do it. I was 11 or 12, the first pageant I ever did. The rule was you couldn't wear makeup. You didn't have to have a talent, but you had to be able to speak with judges one-on-one for 30 seconds. A 12-year-old speaking with 6 strangers in a room, moving around and having to answer questions about herself, about current events. You had to be able to speak on stage and present yourself and walk across the stage in an evening gown with poise and elegance. These are all skills that I think are great for a 12-year-old to have. And it led me to be able to have very successful job interviews, to get into a great college, to be really committed to my schoolwork, because within the Miss America organization, you have to be enrolled in an accredited university. It's a scholarship program. So to speak to Miss America, the things that we look for are scholarship, talent, and service. You have to be service-minded, you have to be talented, you have to be committed to your studies and the people around you. Yes, there are very negative portrayals of pageantry out there. It's TV, it sells. And I don't necessarily agree with putting a small child in makeup, and I've never been one of those kids, and I would never do that to my child. My parents have been so supportive of every goal I've ever had, and they never pressured me or pushed me, and I want to focus on the positivity of pageants, and that's the fact that at Miss America, I won $50,000 to pursue my education, to continue pursuing my education, not counting the scholarship money I won on the state and local level. And I've been given opportunities to sit here and talk with all of you. I've traveled the world. I've traveled to see the First Lady of the United States, to see kids all over the country, and networked with businessmen and political leaders, and the list goes on. And that's all from being a part of the Miss America organization, and I think that's a pretty amazing and positive thing.
Hey, what's up?
Hi.
Hey,
what's up? It's okay. Sorry, I can't help myself.
So I was curious as to what made you once again into like entrepreneurship and stuff, because it almost sounds like it happened while you were about winning the contest. Because I was just curious, since you don't want to like work for the man or anything like that. What's up with that?
What do you mean? I don't want to work for the man? Why can't it be a woman?
There you go. I like that.
Okay.
I was just curious, like, what got you to that process?
Well, first of all, I realized I don't really want to be a litigator. I have no desire to go into that, which, nothing against litigation. I'm all about it. I will probably need it in my future at some point. But I've realized that I have certain strengths now that I didn't know I had before, because this experience has pushed me beyond anything I ever thought I was capable of, and making myself a more well-rounded person, and making myself think outside the box. And I've met people that, they're doing X, Y, and Z. Like, maybe I could do that. I could start an Instagram blog and sell, really cool things online or something like that. Or I can start this business of consulting. If that person can do that, I definitely can do that. I've had so much experience this year, and I'm going to put it to good use. So why not? Why not go out on a limb and try? Because if I didn't try, then I'll regret it. And if it doesn't work out, fine. I'll find something else, and I'm totally comfortable with that.
We have time for one more question.
Hi.
Hi.
You, Mallory, and Nina all have contributed to the New York Crown and also to the National Crown, having a very distinguished thing. What advice do you give to the new Miss New York and also to all the delegates at the national contest?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Mallory, Nina, and myself are the 3 Miss New Yorks that went on to win Miss America. The advice I have for our new Miss New York is that she just not care what people are going to say, because people are going to say it, whether we like it or not. And just remember that no matter what your sash says, you have just as much of a chance as anybody else. For the contestants themselves, for all of them, it's important to remember that you have to be real. You have to be you, and never compromise your identity or your morals or your goals or your ideas or anything else because of somebody else. If you win Miss America, it's going to be because of who you are, because of your heart and the person that you are, not anything else, and no one that's trying to be something else will win. That's not the brand. The brand is somebody that's real and genuine and can connect to people and is relatable. If you can do that, then you can be a great Miss America.
All right, well, we appreciate each of you for being here, and we appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss America.